ProHouse is an end-to-end PropTech solution for property developers. ProHouse offers property sales booking system, ProCRM for leads management, ProFix for property defect management system, and ProBilling for billing and collection management. ProHouse was established in 2015. It's a PropTech company that certified with MSC status in 2017. In 2019, ProHouse became a member of Malaysia PropTech Association. By June 2019, ProHouse officially entered the commercial market. Within 1 year, it's enjoying rapid growth of 300%. In September, ProHouse was awarded with a Golden Bull Award, emerging SME for its tremendous growth and success. ProHouse was also awarded for the Innovative Technology Award in PropTech Solution by IPR Asia Group. ProHouse offers the most suitable digitalization solutions for property developers. Get in touch with us now at enquiry@infradigitals.com.my.
One-hour discussion on property defect management, construction industry, and of course, launching a newborn application by ProSales called ProHouse. Today, as I'm saying, we will be discussing about defect and defect management in the construction industry. We all know how much and how bad has been hit by the COVID. The construction industry has been hit by the COVID and the pandemic, with work keep on being started, left halfway, restarted, with risk and very wide and huge probabilities of defect being involuntarily created during the construction. Nowadays, technology has been helping a lot the construction industry and the property development industry in first surviving during the pandemic, then sailing again, still in turbulent waters, and during the last part of the last year and the first quarter of this year, instead, start moving forward in a bit more sustainable way, and definitely much more digitalized than before. So today, I'm not here alone, because otherwise it will be a bit complicated, not being a 100% construction guy, but just partially. We have been inviting here, and I need to thank, of course, Malaysian Property, L2 Icon, and ProSales to organize all this. We have been inviting for you all two extremely relevant guests that will help myself as, let's say, moderator of a discussion to understand and to kind of dissect better the issue of defect, how CIDB, QLASIC, and CIS 7 standards are addressing and are looking at this defect, and understand better how digital transformation, a digital application, a digitalized application, can help construction companies, contractors, consultants such as QS, CNS, QC, architects, and so on, developer, and at the end also buyers, in making a smooth journey in the construction and property buying experience. let me introduce our guest today. We start first with Surveyor Isaac Sander Rajan Kianathan. He is the chairman of, hello, Mr. Isaac. He's the chairman of he's the chairman of the CABE Malaysian chapter. He's also the chairman of the Chartered Association of Building Engineers, CABE, as I was saying, in Malaysia, and a committee member of the RISM, Royal Institution of Surveyor Malaysia. He has a construction experience background, a huge and very heavy one, as a chartered building engineer, chartered builder from UK, chartered construction manager UK again, and chartered surveyor UK again. Plus, he is a registered building surveyor and a CIBB certified construction project manager. Mr. Isaac has been contributing and participating in different discussions and committees, building and developing the QLASIC and the construction industry standard CIS 7, quality assessment in construction QLASIC, homeowners guide to defect. Welcome, Mr. Isaac, with us today.
Thank you, Dr.
Then we have Mr. Chua. Mr. Chua is the CEO of ProHouse, and he's a technopreneur, and he's defining himself a PropTech evangelist. You can talk about everything with Chua, but he will only talk to you about one thing: PropTech and PropTech again, because he is a very strong supporter of digitalization of the property industry. And where I'm saying property, I'm saying construction, I'm saying pre-construction, construction, delivery of the construction to the developer, delivery of the product from the developer to the buyer, making the whole process very smooth. He has a background as a software engineer and a combined experience in technology management as a master. And all this has allowed him to assist plenty of developers during the digital transformation process, adopting new technology. He has led the development of ProSales since 2015, and he has been making ProSales a very successful application, which has been helping plenty of developers, guaranteeing a smooth and headache-less journey of all the property buyers. Recently, he has been seeing a kind of increase of use of his applications, ProSales and ProFix. ProFix has been launched right before the blow up of the pandemic in end of 2019, early 2020, and has been helping thousands of buyers to receive in a contactless manner their properties. So after looking into the developer buyer journey, now him and his team, his big team, great team in ProSales, have been started looking into the construction industry. And today he is here with us to discuss and dissect the defect issues, trying to understand if it's better building the right thing or building the thing right. We were discussing about this before the opening to the public of this place. So now I have been introducing our two guests. Again, welcome Mr. Chua and welcome Mr. Isaac. Now I'm giving the stage and the microphone to Mr. Chua for a short presentation of the ProHouse journey. Please, Mr. Chua.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Daniel. Thanks for your introduction. Yeah, it's a very nice introduction. Yeah, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our ProHouse soft launch. Okay, I'm Chua, the CEO of ProSales. Just a little bit brief about our company background in case you doesn't know me. Okay, next please. Okay, our company is called Infra Mobile Digital. Yeah, we was established in 2015, and we are actually providing a end-to-end property solutions called ProHouse solution to help the property developer to transform their customer property buying experience. Yeah, in a very transparent, very trustable, very seamless and enjoyable virtual journey. Yeah, we actually aim to be the partner of the property industry from the construction stage until the delivery of VP and defect management. Yeah, although our company was established in 2015, but we actually officially entered the commercial market during June of 2019, which is 1.5 years ago. And we are able to grow by over 300% in the terms on our sales revenue and also our team's growth. And existing, we are actually serving around more than 10,000 users in our defect management system with one of our core product called ProFix. And currently, this is our first time that we enter the construction stage. Okay, that we are currently trying to develop and come out a system called ProHouse, which is CIS 7 compliance defect management system, and launch it today. Yeah, so basically this is our ProHouse milestone. We are actually other than the ProHouse and ProFix, we actually also come out with our own system called ProSales, the sales booking management that helps the developer to manage their sales during the sales and booking process. Yeah, and 2018, we actually come out our Pro CRM, a lead management and also a CRM system to help the developer and also the property agent to more easier to manage their leads and also their existing buyer. Okay. And 2019, we actually come out our ProFix, which is the so-called the first half of the defect system. Called ProFix is the VP and defects management system that helps the developer during the defect liability periods to manage the unit handover, their key handover, and also the defect management. Right? And at the same time, at 2019, we actually became a member of the Malaysia Protect Association. Then go into the June 2019, we officially commercialize our products. And on last year, we actually come out our billing system, Pro Billing, that helps the developer to handle their progress billing and also the payment collection. And within these 1 years on 2019 to 2020, we have the rapid growth of 300%, like I mentioned just now. And this achievement actually helps us to get the emerging SME in the Golden Bull Award. At the same time, this year today we are going to launch the ProHouse, the CIS 7 compliance defect management system, that we will actually introduce this system to all the property industry about how to manage the defect management using the professional way. Yeah. At the same time, that this year we actually also get another 2 awards on our innovative technology and also our solution. One of it is the International Business Review Award, and another one is the Corporate Livewire Award. And for our upcoming planning, we actually also drill into the construction area that we are also trying to come out with contractor management system that helps the contractor to manage their site. Okay, next please. Yeah, this is actually the achievement that we get after we commercialize to the market. Okay, next please. And currently, our ProSales solution are serving more than 20 developer, and we are servicing up to 64 projects today. And we help all our clients to handle more than 42,000 property units, and also we are managing over 40 billions of the property value. And currently, our system actually serving over 10,000 users today. Okay, next please. Yeah. Okay. So today I would like to talking about the ProHouse, the CIS 7 compliance defect management system. So what this solution is actually helping. Yeah, because we all know that the building defects have always been an issue in property development. And importantly, this building defect might be the source of the dispute among the developers, among the contractor and the purchaser during the vacant possession. Okay, next please. Okay. And one of the major area of concern is the poor workmanship. Yeah, in simple terms, The workmanship is the skill and the quality that put into making or completing a building or a project. And workmanship is all talking about the quality, good or bad. It's actually based on the effort to put into the quality control processes during the construction site. Next, please. Yeah, like as I mentioned just now, quality of works on the completed project often is a source of the dispute. And every practitioner actually finding and dealing with the handover defects is an ordeal. And it's actually a troublesome or even a nightmare for them during their handover their key. Yeah, simply because of the quality, this word is very subjective and it's very hard to define. Next, please. But we all know that no buildings actually comes in a very perfect condition. There won't be a project that is without zero defect. And if but for this, in order to solve this issue, we might need every party that during the record possession or even handover to work hand in hand to resolve all these issues. And this is actually the most ideal way. Most of the developers today actually currently is providing their customer care service or their customer support service during they hand over their property. Yeah, hence, I would like to conclude that actually having a good practice that can be followed by all the parties involved to ensure the quality is very important. And today there are more stakeholders and factors that involve in achieving the quality buildings. Like I always say to my client, prevention is always better than cure. Imagine that you can control the defect during the construction stage. That it will eventually it will eventually makes your life easier and happier during you hand over the unit or your property to your client. Okay, next please. Okay, so here's are some of the questions that I would like to ask most of you. Do you have a messy defect form that's occupying your whole table space? Do you still do your paperwork and report traditional or do it manually and end up with all the analytic number and even the defect number is not tallied? Are you facing the difficulty, the lack of the knowledge or the professional guidance when you are handling the defects, when you manage the defect and at the end, you actually mess up the whole defect management process? In order to address all these questions, I got the answer for you today. Okay, next please. Okay, today I would like to introduce our ProHouse system, which is the one and the only digitalized CIS 7 compliance construction defect management system. Maybe most of you doesn't heard about the CIS 7 standard, but I'm sure that most of you actually heard about QLASIC, right? Yeah, in fact, the CIS 7 standard is the standard developed by the technical committee on the QLASIC with the assistance of the CIDB. This CIS 7 standard actually is trying to benchmark the quality of the workmanship during the construction stage. Next, please. And this is how our ProHouse actually embed this CIS 7 into our system, that we are actually helping you guys to improve the project quality and also workmanship during the inspection stage. And we're helping you to digitalize the defect submission progress. Everything will be done in the mobile apps. There will be no more paperwork and all these defect submission process will be automation and it helps you to utilize all your resources. Yeah, and most importantly, we actually also generating the inspection and also the analytic reports for your management usage or maybe for your analytic progress. Yeah, next please. Yeah, okay. So ProHouse actually is come in during the construction stage, and it will be commonly used by the property developer, the contractor, no matter it's main con or subcon, and of course the consultant company such as the inspector, the architect, QA or QC. Now this user actually will use it until during the construction stage up until the vacant possession. Like what I mentioned during my milestone, we actually doesn't stop after the vacant possession. Actually, for our ProHouse, we got the option to directly link to our another solution. It's called the ProFix that helps the property developer to handle their VP and also to handle their defect management after they hand over their key to the client. Next, please. Okay. So basically, how our ProHouse process and how we work, how we are actually helping our client. This is the process and the flow of our ProHouse that used by the contractor and also the consultant. Okay, you can see based on this flow. Basically, the consultant or the contractor we actually using our system to submit the defect. Okay, after they submit, all the defect record that key inside the ProHouse will be aligned in a very proper format, and this helps them to generate the inspection report and also the analytic report, and at the end will pass to the property developer. So basically, this is the main function of our ProHouse. We help them to manage their defect in a proper CIS 7 standard way. Okay, next please. Yeah, okay. So other than the consultant and also the contractor, we actually open the option for our ProHouse to the property developer. So for the property developer that would like to they would like to control or manage on the construction defects, they actually also able to use it to submit the defect during their internal inspection, like maybe before they receive their CPC or maybe before they receive their CC, they are also able to use our ProHouse system to help them in their internal inspection. They are also able to submit their defect, and at the end, all the defect can link and integrate into our ProFix, our another system that can actually submit and also assign to the main con or the subcon to do the fixing. Which means that we actually, for our ProHouse, we not only helping our client to manage their defect during internal inspection, we even help them to do the assignment to the contractor or to the parties involved to let them do the fixing. And at the end, we are also able to generate various of the reports, like not only for the report, we are also able to generate the aging report and also all those different kind of the defect analytic report. Okay, next please. Okay, so like what I mentioned just now, okay, all the defects is actually submitted into ProHouse is based on the CIS 7 defect format. Like all the defect records are organized in a very proper and professional way, and lastly convert into the reports. Okay, next please. Okay, and here's the inspection report format that can be generated in our solution. Like all the submitted defect record will be compiled into an inspection and also analytic report for you. You are also able to download or even able to share out through the social media or through the WhatsApp or email. Okay, next please. Yeah, and also due to the time constraint, I am not able to do the full presentation here. So like if let's say you are really interested on the ProHouse that what I have mentioned, or if let's say you are really facing the problem that I addressed just now, just feel free to contact us through this phone number, whether you call or WhatsApp. Then we will reach out to you, and we can arrange another time for the full demo presentation for our solution. Okay, next please. Yeah, and also feel free to send in an email to us to discover for our all different type of the solution that provide under our process solution. Like we cover not only for the construction series, but we actually also cover for the property developer series, such as the property booking system, the billing system, the VP and defect management system, CRM system also. Yeah, okay. So feel free to send in the email to us and discover how we can work together with you. Okay. Thanks everyone. And since today actually is our ProHouse soft launch, right? I would like to thanks to everyone to witness our ProHouse launching today. And without further ado, I got a launching video to share with you guys. Okay.
Well done, well
Thank you,
done,
everyone.
well done, ProSales. We keep on walking on the digital transformation road towards a full digitalization of the industry. And thank you, Chua, for the great presentation, and thank you for this further contribution to bring the construction and the prop tech and the property industry from good to better, to great, actually.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
I also, yeah, correct. I also realized one thing, that I've been introducing Mr. Isaac, I've been introducing yourself, and I totally forgot to say who am I, myself. Okay, I'm Dr. Daniele Gambero, Deputy President of the Malaysian PropTech Association. I always like to hold hand to our members when they launch new digital solutions, like in this case. And I'm particularly closer to Malaysian property. I've been working with them for a series of talk shows, trying to bring again PropTech to the public of property passionate in Malaysia. So this is who I am, and let's now start a bit of a discussion to understand a bit more about this big, it's like having a huge rock above our head. As property buyer, as property investor myself, I always had this scratching head of saying, will my product, will my house have a lot of effect? Besides this, I'm also a developer consultant, and I've been attending plenty of CCM client consultant meetings in which I've been listening the consultant and the developer representative talking about the sector, talking about quality. I have a bit of a production background. When I was young, my family was having a small business. And I remember at that time, we were always talking with my father about the ISO, quality control. There was a quality specialist, quality consultant, and so on. In Malaysia, maybe not all of our listeners, of our public know that we have a board called the CIDB, of which Mr. Isaac has been member in some subcommittee studying and developing the QLASIC and later on the CIS 7, which is the standard for the quality control. Mr. Isaac, I have a question for you. How the QLASIC scoring for developers is actually calculated? What are you looking at? How good quality is the construction industry in Malaysia to hopefully give a sign of confidence to those interested and passionate about property who are listening to us today. Let's know about, please let us know a bit about QLASIC, CI7, and how the quality control, the quality assessment happens in a construction project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel. Okay, maybe a little background of all this quality assessment. Traditionally, when somebody wants to build a house, you appoint the architect, a team of consultants, and whether they design on paper or nowadays more device, then it's tendered out to a contractor, and the contractor is actually now asked to build it. So during the process of building, it's the consultant who actually monitor the entire specification, whether the specification are followed, and that itself is actually quality control time. But what's happening now when countries like Malaysia, they are very rapid growth, the architect can design but doesn't have enough time to supervise during the construction. Although legally he has to do it, but in practice he doesn't have the time to actually go and look into every of say 1,000 units of houses So he depends on other consultants. But over the time, it depends on other site people, maybe the resident engineer or the clerk of works and supervisors, all that. But over time, it varies. The quality control at the site varies under the supervision of the consultants. And also now, if you look at it, a lot of construction is not done in the traditional way. Designed by consultants is sometimes the contractor takes over the whole lot, design, build, or design and build in a turnkey manner.
Yeah.
So this issue of quality has been, pushed around, from the designers, the contractors. Then in 1994, CIDB was set up to ensure basically a regime of better improvement in the construction industry. So not only CIDB registers contractors, they also ensure that the quality of contractors into the workforce is maintained. And one of the duties is also to ensure that that quality is maintained in the construction. So in 2006, they started to embark on a system of controlling quality and assessing quality for the public purpose. But this does not mean that they take over the role of the consultants and the architects, especially the architects and the engineers who are duty bound to ensure that quality is maintained according to specification. So this is an additional system to more or less assist the purchaser, the end purchaser who buys it, who buys the unit, say he buys from the developer unit. So towards the end, he wants to know, is the quality maintained? Because sometimes, if you ask somebody, then they may be biased towards themselves. So we have a system that removes the biasness, but is assessed independently by a professional. So all these system like CIS 7, which is CIS 7 and QLASIC are the same. It's an acronym, QLASIC, but it is based on the standard. The standard outputs in percentage terms, 60%, 70% compliance to accepted standard norms. Now, what are the accepted standard norms? Usually, the CIS standard 7 goes into architectural works, primarily architectural works, and M&E, and of course, external works. So these are the three areas. There used to be an area of a slight amount of structure. Structure is they don't really evaluate structure because it's more an engineering thing. Yeah. So architecture, M&E, and external works. Now M&E also is actually basic M&E. If you look at M&E, it's like the switches, the plugs, things like that. And in architecture, you will start with internal finishes, external finishes, and then of course these are the two primary areas in architecture: basic M&E, and then external finishes is external works. External works, talking about apron, drainage, linkway, fencing, etc. So the percentage of breakdown is architecture works represent 60%. And then the M&E works 20%, and external works outside of your house, the car park area, the drainage, etc. So most of these inspections, they are done basically on a visual basis, by people with a very keen eye, and of course they are all trained by CIDB. They are actually trained by CIDB, and the assessors will go and assess a building that has been completed. So the main thing is that the work has already been completed, and then they assess. It's not that they assess during the course of construction. So, but of course, it helps if you have a QA/QC system in place by the contractor or developer to ensure that it more or less will give you a high score in the CIS. Science. So big, but of course this is what you call a completed units. So it talks about, like, for example, you take internal finishes. You look at the floor tiles. Is it laid properly? Is it what you call warping, or is it coming up, popping out? So all these things have to be complied with. In the normal course of event, if a contractor follows the specification drawn out in his contract by the architect, the work will be done properly. Yeah. So, but in everyday life, because of the contractors rushing for the finishing time and whatever else, and the use of labor that is not really trained, to happen to have this type of defects coming out. Now, defects itself, it is not what you call assessed during the construction. It's only assessed when the building is completed and delivered. So at the point of delivery, vacant possession by the end user, who's a purchaser, he would be given a list. Now, this is where I think Chua is coming in because what happens is that the developer will give the purchaser a list, piece of paper, and then he will give him the key and say, okay, list down all the things that you can visually see. You know? So he will go around maybe with the what called developers representative and list down the whole list of what he sees visually. You know? And then the developer will pass this to the contractor and say, look, the end user has given this list. You have to be, you will have to rectify this to the satisfaction of the architect. So the architect who is supervising the entire job or whatever, he is still overseeing. Actually, sometimes they say it should be rectified to the standard of the purchaser, but actually it's not really true because the ultimate person to say that is acceptable is actually the architect. And this is where sometimes there's a dispute between what the architect says yes and then what the purchaser says. So this is where QLASIC comes in and says, look, we achieved 70-80%. This is a very good score, and therefore you should be acceptable to this. So it's sort of a playing middleman role and not taking anybody's sideline. And over the years,
extinguishing the fire.
Yes,
extinguishing the fire.
Yes, because when somebody spends $1 million buying apartment, they are really they can get very upset because from what they see from the brochures is very different from what they receive. But they have to be realistic. When you look at the contract that they sign, it should be according to that. So this is where I mean the assessors QLASIS comes in, and I think what they call the number of years that it has been operating, I think 15 over years. There's a greater acceptance by the purchasers. Okay, you see, if we achieve 70%, I'm okay. I take it. I wouldn't complain further. But of course, this is a culmination of a quality to maintain, improve the quality in the industry, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very clear explanation, and quite interesting. The point in which you are saying we do not check or control during the construction period, but more towards the end. And interesting also to know that the heaviest weight is on the shoulder of the architect, who at the end, you were saying 60% of the scoring depends on architect work, right? And only 20% on M&E and 20% on external and visual.
Okay, just a caveat. Now, I refer to this scale for landed property. If it's a condominium, the M&E may go up. So we have two different scales of things. Yeah. So because if you look at a condominium, the amount of M&E is higher. There's a difference.
Definitely. Definitely, because least common areas and
Exactly.
swimming pool with a pump room and whatever. Yeah. Fully understood. Chua, question for you. And how this thing of the ProHouse idea came up to you? Because you have been seeing so many complain for defect going through your application ProFix, or because developers were asking you, hey, can you help us a bit in preventing instead of curing, which should be actually the main scope, the main direction of ProHouse. ProHouse is a tool which should help preventing as much as possible defect somehow, helping the prevention instead of curing later on with ProFix. Please tell us a bit how the idea of ProHouse came up and where it came from.
Yeah. Sure. Actually, this is a very, very good question. Yeah. In fact, because that actually, I actually helps a lot of property developer to do their digital transformation, and we not include the CS. We actually help them to digitalize since they selling their property and then up to when they deliver their property. And we find out that because that we all know that actually during they sell the property, they are handled by the sales and marketing department, sales and marketing team. And when it comes to the delivering, it's actually more on handling by the customer care, customer service team, and also their project team. They actually is two different parties. And I find out that there's a lot of branding and also the promises, like as just now Mr. Isaac mentioned, there's a lot of branding, the promotion, the promise during the developer selling the property. Now, and as a result of this, actually the end purchaser, they will of course will have higher expectation, and all these things actually goes back to the issue of the so-called not we so-called, it's actually I call it as a so-called expectation management. Like for our ProHouse or for our ProFix, for all this quality thing, we actually is talking about the expectation management. We are actually trying to close the gap between the expectation of the public, the buyer, the end purchaser, and also the professional parties like the architect. Yeah, in terms of the quality, because that we all know that the quality we can't like define these quality words because everyone got their own explanation or got their own expectation for these quality words, and the key is to find a good balance. If let's say you are not able to handle this expectation very well, and then it will sooner or later become the dispute because that everyone is actually seeing the quality as a different thing. Yeah, so just like what I said just now, the prevention is always better than the cure. This idea actually is coming out from my mind that why not we handle it during the construction instead of we handle it after the handover. Yeah, because that we can't make sure everything that if we can make sure everything is on track, everything is working in a correct path during the construction, it will eventually helps you to decrease a lot of the defect, the number of defect, and this comes to the VP vacuum possession. Yeah, and this is my idea. Because that this actually also because that this is I so-called as the expectation management, and this will actually lead to a lot of the so-called the impact for the developer and also the contractor.
At the end of the day, we can say that there is a high cost of defect management for developers, and consequently for the contractors, because developers at the end of the day are the one commissioning the job, ordering, tendering the job, and adjudicating the job to external parties, contractors. Contractors are the one constructing the building, either landed or high-rise, on behalf of the developer. At the end of the day, every slap that the developer takes from the market in terms of low quality goes back to the main contractor, to the subcontractor, to the M&E contractor. Now, Mr. Isaac, do you think QLASIC should be aiming to be even more controlling the quality of the construction work, not only towards the end of the process, but start looking into it since the very first step? I'm saying this because I am trying to do a parallel between what happened in my family business back 40 years ago plus, when we started looking into ISO. And I remember at that time, the consultants were saying, you have to start at the very beginning if you want to come with a very high quality output. How does this principle apply in construction? Shouldn't we start earlier, point one? And second question is that coming from the first one is QLASIC a compulsory tool, a compulsory achievement for developers? Is something that developers compulsorily have to apply for in terms of having their DO, their BP license, and then all the construction flow consequently?
Okay. Thank you for the question. But I think we have to accept that there are certain systems already been established. I mean, the architect takes 5 to 6 years to actually graduate, and then but engineers and all that. And even whichever way you look at it, the consultants are protected by the law. There are Architects Act 1967 and all that. The reason being because people are occupying the place. So when human beings are occupying the place, society has put the responsibility on professionals to ensure that it is safe.
Yeah.
So therefore, when QLASIC is formed, they cannot take over the role of the architect. Actually, before QLASIC, it is the job of the consultant. The only problem is that because we are so rapidly developing, there are thousands and millions of houses that we put. We don't have the number of architects that to actually give individual attention. So that's where the CIDB comes to put the norm. But the very fact that there's an assessment system now, I've seen a lot of contractors, our developers now imposing the QLASIC compliance in the contract document. They have actually put it into the contract document of the contractor and say that now, when you finish this job, you have to do a self-assessment and make sure that you can get about 70%. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you my CPC or whatever. But that is actually contentious, in the sense that you are now throwing that deep. But that's a trend because and when the assessor comes, if it's around plus or minus a few points, they accept it. But again, it is a sort of an incentive type of thing, because they're telling him, well, if you not comply, then I won't give you the CPC, then LADs, late delivery charges, and all this come in there, But still, the responsibility of the works done to quality is still with the architect, engineers, and all that. Because at the end of the day, they will submit certain forms, Form A, B, C, D, E to the council to say that I have supervised this job and it's done according to specification, etc. This QLASIC is actually a tool. Now, to say that, okay, we should start earlier, okay, that the contractor himself can follow certain QA, QC policies internally, whereby they supervise their own workers in the first rank of it. So that is more an internal type of process. Perhaps even the developer can help, because a lot of developers actually nowadays overseeing and supervising or the works rather than the consultant. So but the QLASIC cannot be started earlier. they don't have the mandate also. So they can't say they take over another enactment because it's separate enactment. A CIDB enactment is 1994. 1967 already have all these consultants enactments. So you're crossing the legal boundaries. So
I see.
not possible, but internally they can do. I mean, a lot of contractors claim that they are ISO 9000 compliant. So ISO 9000 is also another QA/QC. So they should do not just carry the ISO, but practice it. And if they practice it, automatically you can comply with what QLASIC scoring system. And the QLASIC scoring system is more an incentive to the industry, to tell them where they have gone wrong and whatnot. Because eventually, then going to your next question, whether to make it compulsory, there is a scheme which CIDB is going to implement, that all the G7 contractors will have to comply in order to get themselves renewed, their license renewed. So yet to be done, but it's in the process.
Which is good.
So CIDB is taking it seriously because every now and then I think people take pot shots at CIDB and say, "What have you been doing?" So because they control the licensing, because they control the licensing of all these contractors, and therefore they can insist that they improve from the beginning. Otherwise, they will downgrade them or put them on trial or whatever. So these are the things, and of course, CIDB also can do enforcement. But the first part of the question, they are not able to do it. You cannot expand into the areas of the consultants. The second part of it, yes, they can make it compulsory under certain categories because they have 1 to 7. The 7 is the top one, which is building most of the condominiums, all that. So they can impose that. That is in the pipeline. But when are they going to do it? I'm not sure. Maybe next year, something like that. Yeah.
And based on your experience, say out of 20 construction projects, how many are actually today using QLASIC to be scored and to make sure that they are delivering the right quality?
Well, the take-up rate is not that high, but it's increasing. But I think primarily because a lot of purchasers today are very rights savvy. They will take it to tribunal. So in the tribunal, the developer will get, I mean, he's on most of the time. It's quite clear that they have not delivered the product that they promised. So increasingly, the developer is of the view that it's not my fault; it's the contractor. But of course, the contractor said, well, "You just asked me to bill. You didn't say are we 100% perfect or 70% perfect." So now the contracts
you didn't give me,
So the contract. So now the developer is imposing that from the beginning. It tells the contractor, "Look, I want you to comply with 70% because I'm selling and telling the market that my product is able to score 70%. So you make sure you do that. Otherwise, I will penalize you. I tell you from the beginning." So they put it inside. So of course, to comply with that, then the contractor will have to set up his own QA/QC system. It's implied. Otherwise, he can't achieve this. So it's in a way, it's an indirect way to improve quality. But that system is a different system because if you look at it, what is that QLASIC score and all that? It's basically that to ensure that the contractor has followed the specification that is written by the consultant. I mean, it's in the simplest form. Just follow the specification. Problem arises when they don't follow the specification. Then it results in defects, etc., etc.
And this might be the moment in which ProHouse could come into the picture to help regulating and kind of making a more straight way of communicating between construction contractors, consultant and employer at the end of the day. Am I right, Chua? Is this that your ProHouse should be helping, right?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Daniel. Yeah, like I always promote one thing is the technology.
Yeah, definitely. And with ProFix, I imagine that I remember you have been helping more than 10,000 buyers receiving their homes, right? Or better, you have been helping developers to deliver more than 10,000 properties during the pandemic. Am I right? I'm sure that the data that you have been accumulating out of these 10,000 users complaining have been inspiring you towards ProHouse. Am I right?
Yeah. Like because I'm thinking like I always talking about the property technology. I'm always talking about the construction technology. Like because that we all know that like life is about the learning and growing. Same to the technology. Okay. Like like what Mr. Isaac said just now, we can have the standard process in place to help to compare the finding and learn from the past project to improve the future work. Like through Dr. Daniel, what you mentioned just now, the data collection and all kind of the documentation from all the previous project, we're actually helping the developer to reduce their risk and also improve their construction quality for their upcoming project. Because that for today's world, we are actually growing very, very rapidly in terms on the construction side, the property development side, and even the technology side. We can't run away from the technology. If we're looking for the improvement, like especially for the property technology, the construction technology that can incorporate like the data analytics, the big data, and even some of them is starting to put in all those kind of the machine learning. Like all this technology actually can change the construction games when it comes to the proactive risk assessment and also the mitigation. Just imagine that adopting this kind of the technology can actually help you to predict, even help you to prevent and manage the risk or the defect that and trying to optimize your project quality or maybe your project delivery and improve it from every stage, every time. Isn't it good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure we will see soon a kind of a contractors secrets coming up saying, oh, these contractors no good for the final work. This contractor no good for the M&E based on the scoring out of data collected from your application. I'm pretty sure. And actually, this should be something to look at into a cooperation, in terms of cooperation between the data that you are collecting, because before participating into moderating this discussion today, I've been trying to do some homework to prepare myself a bit better. And unfortunately, I found that very little data are available on the final user defect findings in terms of properties. We don't know which project, for instance, is the most defect-free, and we don't know which developer is the one delivering a project with the highest number of defects. We have been seeing even, you were saying before, buyers today as a very action kind of find the defect, bring immediately the developer to the tribunal. Before that, they use this, and they bring developer to the social media. We have been seeing a very big developer being badly wrecked publicly by a unsatisfied buyer, where we all know this buyer has been wrecking the unit, painting the unit, breaking tables, breaking doors, and so on, because he was very unsatisfied of the quality delivered. Unfortunately, as Mr. Isaac has been saying, there is a big gap between expectations of the buyer, what the developer is promising, which is in the middle, and what the contractor is actually delivering. So we should be looking into a possible way of balancing more expectation, delivery, and deliverable. I would like to ask Mr. Isaac one question. I hope I support Malaysia. I'm a Quailo, I'm a Masale, but I have been supporting Malaysia for the last 22 years. I love this country, and I can see huge opportunities here. I would like to ask, in a scale 1 to 10, how do you score the Malaysian construction industry for residential, for commercial, and for infrastructures? Because I think there are 3 totally different degrees of quality. My feeling.
Well, actually, I mean, I've been to many parts of the world also. I don't think Malaysian construction is that bad. What we lack is finishing quality. In terms of structure, in terms of foundations, if you look at the statistics here in Malaysia, we don't have a lot of buildings collapsing after it's completed. Most of the problem arises during the construction. And that's also because only lately, in many years, I mean, I've been in the industry for almost 35 years. In the early days, we never really had problem because engineers and architects supervise them very thoroughly. They come to the site and all that. So they don't open the formwork before it is set. But today, the supervision is lacking, and they're all rushing for delivery. Very impossible time frames are taken up by contractors who are just trying to play, get as many jobs as possible, and then later talk about it. So it used to be a time when consultants used to give contractors reasonable time to complete, and developers also give them reasonable time. But nowadays it's a speed, So all this has caused some effect. But I mean, if you look at Malaysia, we use proper scaffolding. You look at Hong Kong, they actually use bamboo steel. Not to say bamboo and stuff, but you can see the difference is still substantial. So Malaysia, because we are fortunate that we follow a British system of implementing our projects. So the style of operation, and one other thing that we are fortunate is because the cement quality that we produce in Malaysia is very high quality. One of the best in the world, because we have a certain ingredient that makes the cement very good, which is a limestone. We have a lot of limestone. So the first cement factory is in Tasik. That's in the state of Perak, Ipoh, just outskirts of Ipoh. So when we have that good quality, and if you look at most of our projects are basically concrete-based framework, and most of our houses are actually very, very safe, because a 2-story house probably can take a load of, say, 4 or 5 story, because it's designed to British standard minimum holding capacity. So and the foundations and all that. So I would place us quite highly. Only problem is that towards the end, when we are finishing off the work, the tiling, the doors, the placements, all these, that little quality, they are not finishing it. Because so I had a friend who was a CEO of a very prominent condominium developer, and one of the things that he did was actually maintain his subcontractors and contractors who have done a good quality work, but he would pay them on a better rate based on a certain schedule, that they can make money, and his expectation is quality is very high. So those contractors who don't fulfill quality standards are actually not recalled back to tender anymore. But not all contractors not all developers are doing it, because developers just go for bottom line, who's the cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also
It's one of the things. It's one of the things that has always been amazing and surprising me. Seeing developers talking to the sales and marketing, saying, push up the price as much as you can. Then goes to the project manager and say, hey, push down the cost as much as you can.
exactly. Yeah, not
And the
realistic.
two things are not matching.
Yeah, because in the old days, I think Malaysians, they don't complain much, but the current generation are different. So, there's a paradigm shift, and current generation are very vocal, and you have technology, exactly. You have technology also, So all this is putting a lot of pressure on them. So coming back to the question, you're talking about residential. Residential is the simplest of the lot to do, basically, because and then you have the commercial. Commercial, probably you're talking about strata property. You're talking about landed property, then you're strata property, then you talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure also, but infrastructure is dominated by international companies, foreign companies, of course, under the umbrella of a local company. So you're talking about sophisticated tunneling and all that. That I think is a different ball game. But if you're coming to say condominiums, strata properties, and residential, the construction quality, it's not bad. It's pretty good. I would say 75% to 80% of international norm. But the finishing quality goes down to about 50%. So this is, and because it looks bad, people say everything is bad.
Yeah, that is the point. That is the point. Not understanding that a bit of cosmetic work will do wonders.
Exactly.
We need to learn the art of realistic and positive makeup. We need to introduce more women in the construction industry, because women are having a taste for beauty, for gracious things, which is much higher compared to men. And I can tell you, most of my team are women, are ladies. They are very determined in obtaining what they want. They know what they want, and they know how to achieve it. So in the construction industries, I have few of our members, Malaysian PropTech Association, who are ladies, who are women in the construction industry. I really 10 times salute them. And I'm pretty sure that with more of them, we might be able really to rise the final scoring. I have another 10 or 15 questions, honestly, because it's a very intriguing and interesting topic. I'm very happy to have heard what Mr. Isaac has been just saying, and I repeat it so that all our audience will be very aware of it. Malaysian construction industry is not bad at all. So once more, Malaysia Boleh. Unfortunately, for the part that touch the eye, we are still lacking of commitment in delivering a good job, a good finishing job. Chua, you have a bigger responsibility here. Make sure that ProHouse will be distributed as much as you can to the developer, helping them in closing this gap on the exteriority part, on the finishing part of their project. Well, I'm doing a short wrap up, but I would like to have one last statement from our two guests, wrapping up what we have been saying today in terms of hopes for the future, outlook in terms of quality of construction. Mr. Chua, you start first. Please give us your final wrapping up statement.
I just related it back to our whole what we have discussed today. We are actually talking about the quality, and the quality is what separates the good from the bad. And construction, one of the traditional industry in the world, it doesn't have any difference compared to other. The secret to achieving the better level of the quality starts with having a kind of the standards. But through this technology, we actually can help you by using our ProHouse. and the opportunity is now. And so what are you waiting for? Just embracing the technology and make use of the technology to help your property or your construction business.
Yeah, fully agree with you. And Mr. Isaac, conclusion statement, please.
Okay, I think basically, all the main players, they have to play their role fairly. In terms of the developer, when you are contracting out to contractors, give them a fair time to complete. And when they're dealing with consultants, also give them a fair time to finish the design. All too often, too short a time is given in design stage, where they don't specify things to the correct level, and that cascades down to the contractor and the. But if they have problems, I think also it's about time the developers set up QA QCs internally to assess and check. Or alternatively, they can outsource to building inspectors, which increasingly are surfacing now, who are independent team of consultants who will do an independent inspection. Is the developer apply with quality control and quality assurance. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good. So the future is in the hands. The future improvement of quality is, let me say so, the concern about a building inspector coming in and finding your defect. So we push contractors, M&E, and finishing contractors and subcontractors in doing a better job to make sure that at the end we will be able, from this 75-80% of scale of good quality of Malaysia, to push up to 100. All right. I thank you very much for your time, both of you, Chua and Mr. Isaac. Congratulations, Mr. Chua and ProSales, for the successful launching of ProHouse. Now we will be looking forward for wonders of your ProHouse software. To our public, we hope have been talking and clarifying a bit about Classic CIS 7 and how good quality at the end of the day, we should be saying, the construction industry is. Malaysians, please look up, not look down at the construction industry, because the core building is good. What we just need to improve now is the finishing part. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending our 1-hour talk show and presentation and soft launching of ProHouse. Developers, construction companies, consultants, reach out to ProSales to ask and find out more about ProHouse. And to all of you, see you soon with new information and new launches from other members of the Malaysian PropTech Association. If you want to know more about Malaysian PropTech Association, log into www.proptech.org.my. If you want to know more about ProSales and ProHouse, log into www.prosales.tech. And with this, good afternoon to all of you and very happy weekend. Bye-bye. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.